welcome everyone. My name is Faith Rain, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of my recent work today. So starting off with a little bit about myself, I'm currently a senior at UNT, majoring in studio art with a concentration in metalsmithing and jewelry design. A couple of the mediums that I enjoy working with are ceramics, as you can see by the picture of my bowl, and wire or wire wrapping techniques to create jewelry. I started dabbling in these mediums in my childhood and have maintained a level of interest in them, but my main bodies of work that I will be diving into today are all under the craft of metalsmithing. So these are the three pieces I will be talking about today, from left to right, titled Blunt Box and Roach Ring, Censer, and Chastity Belt. So starting off with the Blunt Box and Roach Ring, I created these pieces completely out of brass in September of this year, and they're meant for the purposes in which they're titled after. I utilize many different techniques in this work, including hinges, wire embellishment and wrapping, and clasps, all to create fully functioning movement and stabilization. The Blunt Box and Roach Ring were a conscious attempt at taking inspiration from an artifact of the past and putting my own vision into it, which you'll see is actually a theme throughout most of my work. Inspired by the concept of classic cigarette holders and rings from throughout the 1900s, I wanted to create a composition that was different from the typical pieces of that time, yet still embodied a sense of antiqueness, appearing as though these pieces derive their value not from their newness, but rather their history, which is non-existent. Next, we have the censer, which I also created earlier this year. This piece is made completely from copper and was finished with a chemical heat patina. A censer, spelled Censer, is the term used to refer to a vessel that's specifically found in Western religious settings, generally in Catholicism or Catholic Mass. But I would like to say that the concept of this vessel as a whole appeals to many different traditions and cultures throughout history. The purpose of the vessel is to burn incense inside the cone-like shape and swing around so the smoke covers more area, and it's often used during ritualistic scenarios. As I mentioned earlier, creating my own takes on historical objects has been a passion of mine, and this piece falls into that category. These objects generally have religious adornments and motifs, designs, and always have a high polished finish, and my goal was to strip the censer of all the characteristics that added to the quote-unquote visual holiness, as I like to call it. I chose to work in copper for this reason, so that I could apply a chemical heat patina at the end that mimics age and corrosion. Finally, we have Chastity Belt, made in December of 2022. This piece is made of copper, red carnelian cabochons, and a liver of sulfur patina. Chastity Belt was my first dive into recreating a historical object, and that's when I fell in love with creating pieces that had more contextual significance than perhaps commercial jewelry would. I loved working with patinas and surface textures to mimic a medieval style in this project, and I also feel proud to say that now, looking back, I've learned many things that I would have done differently in this piece. This piece was created during the period of Roe v. Wade's overturn, and it was my expression of frustration at the continuing lack of bodily autonomy for women, in which I'm trying to draw a parallel between the contraption conceptualized over 700 years ago and the laws made in our current and modern society. And that is the conclusion of this artist talk. I leave you with a few miscellaneous pieces of my work. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk about my passion. Have a good one. Bye.